After cleansing and toning my face, I usually go in with either a moisturizer or a sunscreen. If you have dry skin or dry patches, don't really recommend this cream for you, but because I have oily skin, this cream does enough for me. Also, it smells so good. After the cream absorbs into my skin, I dot this concealer all over my face like so, and I usually look crazy, but that's just how I tend to like to do my concealer. And I usually reach for this concealer when I'm craving extra coverage, and I basically use it as if it's a foundation. I find that using a damp sponge or beauty blender and patting it into my skin instead of using a brush or a puff applicator gives the best natural looking results. It's quite thick and highly pigmented, but it doesn't break me out since the main ingredient is actually centella, which is an acne fighting ingredient. So not only is this fighting acne for me and giving me high coverage, it's one of the best concealers I've ever used. And with the leftover concealer, I blend it down my jaw and my neck. Next, I'm going to bake my face with the same damp beauty blender in areas that tend to crease or patch up the most for me. So that's under my eyes, my laugh lines, my forehead, and some parts of my chin. With the leftover powder, I just pat it down my neck, and I prefer using this powder to bake not only because it's tinted so it adds extra seamless coverage, but it holds back my oil secretion way better than a couple of Korean brands that I've tried. So while the powder is baking, I usually move on to my eyebrows. Using the darker shade, I use an angled flat brush and only outline my eyebrows. Naturally, I already have a decent amount of eyebrow hair and I'm terrible at shaping my brows, so I just follow my natural brow shape and fill it in. To soften the powder and the harsh lines, I use the spoolie side of the brush and just kind of brush everything out. After my brows, it's about time to buff out the powder all over my face and neck, so here I'm using the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush to accomplish this. Next, I'm going to contour my face, and I always start off with contouring my nose using the Real Techniques setting brush and mixing the lightest and medium shades together. From the front of my brows, I follow the sides of my nose to the tip of my nose and feather it out. Personally, I think this gives a natural shade and makes my nose look a little bit taller without exaggerating it. For my jaw, I use the Real Technique blush brush and mix the medium shade with the darkest shade, and from my temples to my chin, I make the number 3 shape like so. Moving on to my eyes, I always use my fingers for the base. I'm using this pale purplish pinkish shimmery shade, and I apply it all over my lids like so. Then with a flat brush closer to my lash line, I horizontally apply a shimmery light tan shade and then feather it in with the base shade using a blending brush. Next, I use a clean fluffy brush and pat this matte brown shade to the outer corners of my eyes. Using the blending brush, I feather out the harsh edges and bring the darker shade a little bit upwards and inwards. Using the fluffy brush from earlier, I flatten the tip just a bit and I tightline the bottom mid to the outer corner of my eye. Lastly, using the flat brush, I use the base shade and apply it to the inner corners of my eyes and near my tear ducts all the way to the middle part of my eye to meet with the darker shade that we just applied. Moving on to eyeliner, I like to tightline my eyes to create the illusion of fuller eyelashes. I just want to talk about this eyeliner for a quick minute. Not only is the shape of this eyeliner super cute, but it's also a very practical eyeliner. The handle of the bell is actually a brush of the eyeliner, and the inside of the bell is the actual product. There is also a palette and a dip in the eyeliner where you can get rid of extra liner from your brush without actually having to waste the product. Following the natural shape of my eyes, I create a thin wing going slightly upwards. Then from the midpoint of my wing, I go inwards to outline my eyelid. From the outer corners of my eyes to the inner corners, I'm basically making the liner from thicker to thinner. Next are the eyelashes. I curl my lashes closer to the roots, starting in an almost downward position, and as I bring the curler upwards, I'm also moving the curler towards the tips of my lashes. By doing this, I feel like it makes my eyelashes look a little bit more natural, and then I go in with this shortcake mascara and move the bristles side to side as I'm applying it. And then I usually curl my lashes one more time and apply one more layer just to make it hold a little stronger. Then I go in with this tiny mascara and apply it to the bottom lashes to just add more definition to my eyes. Moving on to blush, I'm using a mauve pink shade and applying it on the apples of my cheeks all the way from my hairline towards my nose. Personally, I think this makes the blush look a little more natural, but it's your preference whether so you want to do this, but for me, I find that this blush technique looks the best on me. Next is the lips. I'm using this pinkish peach color and patting it on my lips, concentrating it more in the inner parts of my lips. Then using my finger, I gently blend the color outwards. Lastly, I finish up with a setting spray that basically blends and melts my makeup together while giving me a dewy look without actually feeling dewy. So there it is. This is my take on Somin's makeup from Card's music video, You and Me, except I decided to do a more soft look as opposed to her grungy dark look.